Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today with our resident engineer, Mike Herzog. How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing great, David. It's been a little bit wonky. You can maybe a different background here, but I moved out of my office and my IT guy fixed me up and he did a great job, but it's still like re-entering everything, figure this out, where does the light come from? It's just, what changes, that's good, but it's
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Well, glad we're able to do the show today.
Mhm.
So here's something kind of interesting that comes along because you and I have been talking a lot about nuclear energy. The NRC, Nuclear Regulatory Commission, has introduced a micro reactor regulatory framework. Now, in Canada, they do this. So in Canada, they have one set of rules for the big cooling tower sized gigawatt or bigger reactors. And then they have different for 300 megawatts or less reactors. And the US one, the NRC is now bringing forth a licensing framework for micro reactors and similar reactor designs that may provide a more suitable pathway for applicants with simpler technologies. Now, nobody ever really thinks of nuclear as being
Nuclear is
simple, right?
simple. It's
Yeah,
interesting. I mean, that's a joke, right? Well, I'm not a rocket scientist or a brain surgeon or a nuclear physicist.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, this proposed rule, known as Part 57, is the latest to come out of the NRC's rules review and overhaul stemming from the Advance Act and 2025 nuclear-related executive orders. I mean, we had a lot of executive orders last year from the president. It's basically shifting away from light water. It's looking at reactor designs. They're shifting away from light water reactor technology. We're developing new licensing framework that are designed for safety, scale, and speed.
Mm.
The NRC chairman is Ho Ni. This sounds like a fake story. Ho Ni. Anyways, we're about to lose it.
Yeah,
For that, it just looks like this looks like fake news, but it is coming from the NRC.
Yeah, and it's a positive thing because we're seeing that in other places too. What some of the stuff the Department of Energy has done, and I like what they're doing in a lot of these spaces because they're not just gutting regulations. It's not like what you'd hear from like a horror story of like EPA and just gutting everything and doing that. Like they're working pretty close with industry and regulatory agencies, like regional regulatory agencies, to come back through and really try to address this. Like, we get it, it's complicated, it's tricky, it's tough, in all of these spaces. We don't want to get rid of that, but God, there's got to be an easy path on some of this stuff. Easier, like if it's safe, if it is, if it's small, if it's not going to make a big difference, just do it. We see that from generation interconnection just in general. The big ones, absolutely study the heck out of that thing and figure it out. If it's a little generator and the load is right there and all of these things are happening, like fast track it. Just fast track it. The grid needs resources. You and I have been saying for a long time, the grid needs nuclear resources. Like, put these on the path. Help them fast track, get these things in, because a lot of people, I hesitate to say everybody, but a lot of people agree you can speed this stuff up. There's a faster way to do it, still make it resilient, reliable, safe, cheap, all of those, but just speed it up a little bit.
Well, they got to give lots of work to all the lawyers.
There
We
you
talk
go.
about this sometimes on the show, how the U.S. is ran by lawyers and China's run by engineers. And to put it in perspective, we were talking yesterday. There's a new thing called the UPRISE program for nuclear,
Okay.
and it's to recommission or uprate some nuclear reactors in the United States to by 2029 adds 5 gigawatt hours of power to the United States. 5. At the same time, on yesterday's news, we reported that China last month because of the Iran war, doubled their exports of solar panels to 68 gigawatt hours of solar panels. Now, I realize that the way energy math works, that those 5 gigawatts between now and 2029 are about the same
Yes.
with 68 gigawatts, but that's 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know. That's a month. Yeah, yeah.
3 years. Right. And that's what China's putting out there in solar. And it's kind of, we're so slow. We're so slow at bringing this stuff online.
Oh, it's humbling. It's humbling. It's good and bad, and it's one of those absolutely like they steamroll, and I mean they condemn and move forward if they want to do it, but dang, do they move fast. It's things like I warned you he was going to be excited about something here coming up, but no, oh boy, he's really excited.
Well, deals with the animal attack going on. So what this Part 57 does is it requests approval of fleets of identical reactors. So when these modular reactors are made, they're going to be manufactured in a manufacturing facility and then shipped to the site. So they'll be able to get approval quickly because they're the same. So they're not going to have to go running back through the approval process over and over again for exactly the same thing. Allow appropriate use of alternative design standards and programs for novel reactor operation. Well, we've talked on here before about how almost all the reactor designs going into place right now are still generation 3, and we've been focused on generation 4, but there's like 8 reactor types for generation 4 alone that have some type of approval from the International Energy Agency.
Yeah, they've gone through the steps. They've gone through it. They know the technology. Well, and it's the biggest thing. And I don't mind repeating this over and over again. The only reason we haven't deployed that technology yet is because we haven't. The federal government's been investing in it for so long and testing it out and gone through trials and on like DOE test lab sites and everything. It's out there, and I know it's nuclear and it's big and scary sometimes for people, and it's new and it's really safe. Like, where they just come up with that? It's been in the works for 20 plus years of really trying to figure this out. So yeah, if modular design, putting those things out, fast track approvals, awesome.
Yeah, so it's streamlining environmental reviews of projects with limited environmental impacts, provide pathways for limited construction ahead of NRC permitting. Now, in the case of Canada, it was 300 megawatts and below. This is intended, according to Nee, the chairman of the NRC, that it be 100 megawatts or lower. And so, but SMRs are generally understood to be somewhere between 50 to 300, and if it's smaller than 50, it's considered to be micro. Yeah. Evaluating a large reactor requires lengthy reviews of technology and siting. Micro reactors at the opposite end of the spectrum by size. They're small machines. They're simple machines. They're simple if you're a nuclear physicist.
If you're a nuclear physicist.
They're just simple and conducive to higher volume licensing.
Well, it is, and I never worked at the plant myself, but knew a lot of people that worked at the nuclear plant. And when you start to put together components, every little nut and bolt has to have a paper trail and has to be certified and go through that. So when you're doing onesie twosies, I mean, it's literally every piece of equipment has manufacturer, who it is, where it's from, what's the replacement. It has when we got it, when it's going out, all of these things. So yeah, if you can modularize these and it's the same piece of equipment over and over again, it's a really positive thing.
Yeah. So according to the NRC, Part 57 will save the agency and the industry anywhere from $3.76 billion to $11.84 billion.
Furthermore, I believe it.
Yeah. Furthermore, the NRC projects licensing and deployment to take 6 to 12 months, accelerating the timeline for permitting and licensing. That's a whole lot faster than it taking years or decades.
And you know what? It's just the stroke of a pen. Like, it's a stroke of a pen and a kick in the butt. Like, go speed this up. Let's make this happen. That's all that was standing in the way.
So one of the unique things, well, when we talked about Gen 4 as opposed to Gen 3, is that to be Gen 4, it has to be an inherently safe design, which does not need It's saying that a human can't screw it up, but it doesn't need humans at all.
Yeah, it does need human intervention to run effectively. Yep.
Yeah, it might need it for part of the electrical generation.
Yeah.
So, like some of the designs we've been looking at had scheduled maintenance on the turbines, which are not part of the nuclear part, every 2,000 hours of operation. Okay, and that every so many, like maybe every 6,000 hours, some of it probably was going to have to be replaced for maintenance or whatever because of the extreme heat or whatever. But you know, there was different things that are going to have to be done. Can't melt down if unpowered is the real nugget.
Yeah, that's a big deal. This is in the wake of like Fukushima a few years ago. Offsite power requirements for existing power plants became a big deal. Of you have to have a backup to the backup to the backup kind of thing to keep the thing running from melting down. So bringing in backup power sources to keep existing nuclear plants running has been a huge effort over the past decade. So what Owen's saying there is, yeah, you don't have to have that redundancy to the redundancy to the redundancy. If it turns off, like, it's okay. It just shuts itself down safely.
Yeah, you know, and we talked about this before too. Fission is something that once it starts, once you ignite that spark, it doesn't just shut off.
Yeah, it's chain reaction. Yeah.
But what it has in the system is they all have a method of cooling, whether it be helium, salt, lead. There's all these different designs that they cool the reaction back down if it reaches a certain temperature. And the system can't run away. And it just has to do with physics. It's just not possible for it to just run away based on what that is. All right. And I was mentioning the UPRISE program. Several major operators, Constellation, Vistra, Duke, and Southern, will benefit. Southern Company received a $26.5 billion DOE loan, including allowing it to do 300 plus megawatts in uprates. It doesn't really seem like a whole lot for that amount of money.
Yeah, but to have megawatts are so valuable on the grid right now. Like people are getting them wherever they can get them. I don't know.
Let's see. Vistra signed a 20-year PPA with Meta for 2.6 gigawatts, including 433 megawatts from uprates. So that 2.6, 400, just about 1/6, 1/7 of that is going to come from uprates, meaning they're taking existing reactors and increasing how much output they're going to have. So that's something kind of new. Let's see. All right, let's talk about batteries. So this, you know, normally batteries don't get all that exciting, right?
I was just gonna say when you said that, I bet like 99% of the world would go, ugh. But you and I are like, ooh, batteries.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different technologies with batteries. I mean, you look in the cars, we got lithium ion, we got LFP, and but CATL just took an order for 60 gigawatt hours of sodium ion batteries. And so the company called HyperStrong is going to buy half of it. So this one deal, it's a 3-year deal with HyperStrong, is half of what CATL shipped last year in terms of gigawatt hours. Wow. So proves the technology is mainstream ready.
Who does HyperStrong supply to?
I'm assuming these are going to be used for energy storage. I don't think these are car batteries.
It's too heavy, right? I mean,
well, so here's the thing. So the sodium ion, if you were making just a more localized car that's going to have like up to like 150, maybe 200 mile range, it works for that. Okay. But you're not going to get 300.
You can't get the big ones.
Out of sodium because for the weight,
the energy density per weight, it's not there, but it's cheaper. But right. You can't get the density to get the big ranges. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then can't catch on fire. There's some other things that Yeah, you're right, Owen. If gas does go to $6 a gallon, yeah, you could double the MPGE on. Not that anybody really pays any attention to that, anyways. But it seemed kind of cool when the Prius came out, and then after that, I don't know if anybody
After that, yeah.
listened to it anymore. But CATL says it has solved mass production challenges, enabling large-scale delivery of this lithium alternative. But let's see. Oh, so it has 15,000 plus charge cycles. I think that lithium ion and LFP have about half that.
Half that, right? I was thinking 5 to 10 for.
Yeah. So 15,000 charge cycles is a lot, and it'll operate in minus 40 Celsius to 70 Celsius, ideal for grid scale storage. But like I was saying, it's not as energy dense per kilogram. So, anyways, but that's just an awfully big order for a new technology.
Well, and especially for an established manufacturer like CATL, like it's not like, oh yeah, we're ramping up production. I mean, they're ramping up production obviously, but they've been around for a long time. This is not an emerging company you're buying their stock. This is a huge company you're buying out.
Right. No, this is big, and Mike and I have discussed this a lot of times. When we see people announcing new battery technology, we're usually like, yeah, whatever. But when it's CATL
or CATL, like, okay, CATL, Tesla, like I buy it. Yeah, tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. We know it's not being done half-ass, and it's going to be fully funded. That's a big part of it. It's going to be a fully funded project if somebody like CATL is doing it. Let's see. There was an article in the New York Times talking about how now EVs under $40,000 now match the range of the expensive models from a decade ago. So it used to be that everybody wanted that, mythical 300-mile range on an EV. That was going to be enough, right? That was going to be enough. It was going to be 300 miles. Now everybody's like, maybe when they have 1,000-mile range. Nobody's ever happy, right?
Yeah, until I never have to charge it.
You don't charge it.
Loaded, it's disposable. You're just done when it runs out.
We're going to have a fusion reactor in your car that when you turn the key, you're going to hope that it hits that 70 million degrees in the engine, and
the cold days really reaction thing.
Yeah. There was somebody who claimed they made a cold fusion reaction happen, but it hasn't been like lab proven.
Yeah.
We're back to the donuts. Donut just released a swappable solid state battery demonstration. Nice. That's been going on for a while. Bill's a big fan of the donut. But rising gas prices from the Iran crisis likely to accelerate EV adoption despite the end of the tax credit. Price range correlation broken. Some $40,000 EVs now outperform some $90,000 models. And that's probably more of a factor on range than anything else, right? Because you take something like the Porsche Taycan. It doesn't even have 300-mile range, I don't think. The original ones were like right at 200 miles. And those are another one that massively depreciated, but it's a short range. Of course, their intention was somebody who was going to buy it was buying it for the speed.
Yeah.
It was buying it because it's Porsche.
They're buying it. It's a Porsche. Yeah. It's nice. I mean, it's a nice vehicle no matter what you get. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, it's just they've really become inexpensive.
And that's everything, right? Everything we see points to that. I mean, costs are going down, performance is going up. I mean, it's just everything's pointing in the right direction for continued uptick in adoption.
Yeah, no question. All right, so Chinese automakers dominate the Beijing Auto Show with tech breakthroughs. China showcased 1,450 vehicles and 181 global debuts at the 2026 Beijing Auto Show.
1,400.
Yeah.
I mean, are they counting like different colors as a different vehicle? Like this?
I suspect some of those were probably bicycles and scooters.
Oh,
it doesn't. It says auto show.
Auto show. Yeah,
I'm just saying
that, and
vehicle could be a few things, right? But when we're here in the United States, we just assume you're Yeah, Bill would ride anything around town if it was electric. We would see him riding around on a vehicle powered by a bunch of weed eater batteries. Oh man. One of my favorite episodes we ever did was when we were talking about the e-bike that was powered by the little batteries from inside vapes. So they look like expended vapes, and somebody put together a daisy chain, like 150 of them or something, onto a e-bike and got it to powered up.
That's great. That's real funny.
Yeah. But do you remember the elf? We had the elf people on here once, and they got the pointy ears, but they're really getting some traction again. And
really?
Yeah, they've got like 750 pre-orders right now for, their vehicles run like $8,000 to $10,000. It's a 3-wheel enclosed bicycle that is safe. They've been in like over 50 accidents. They've got something like over 1 million miles driven because it's been out for over 10 years. And there's been some ownership changes in the ELF IP, and the original guys own it again.
Oh,
Rob Cotter owns it again, and he's owned it for about a year. When we had him on, he was just taking ownership back. But that's too funny, Owen. Making power walls with old laptop batteries and flashlight cells. How long is that going to power your house? You're going to have a lot of laptop batteries to, keep your power going in the house. So their design is such that they've had vehicles, they've been hit by cars going over 50 miles per hour, and they've had no serious injuries. So it's very safe, and it'll hold 2 people. And if you're pedaling and running the battery power at the same time, it'll go up to 30 miles per hour.
It goes super fast. Is that the one? Does it have integrated solar on it too?
Yes.
So it's always basically they said like it will charge itself, right? I mean, if you leave it outside, it'll pretty much take care of itself.
Yeah. Well, if the battery's dead and the sun's out, without pedaling, it'll still go 10 miles.
It'll still go. That's what I remember from that one. That has enough juice on the panels on a sunny day, like that's
it'll go. Yeah. It'll go. Yeah, it's really quite fascinating. Hopefully we'll get them on the show again. They reached out a little bit ago and I said, hey, let's get back on the show again. And but I haven't heard anything. It looks like some of their personnel have changed, but we'll see where that is. But back to the Beijing Auto Show. It was dominated by BYD, Xpeng, Hawaii, or Huawei, or however you say that. Huawei, yeah, something like that. And CATL, leading in intelligent driving and ultra-fast charging. Despite domestic sales in China slowing after some subsidy cuts, Chinese car exports have surged 63% year over year. Yeah, exports. China is now the world's top car exporter and global leader in next generation automotive technology. Now, the previous number 1 was Japan. And what's also interesting was to note the big 3 U.S. automakers were not represented in Beijing. Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting piece. Yeah, I don't know enough to comment on that.
I'm guessing he's souping that thing out with every type of energy recovery you've got.
Yeah, I know that I still, what is it, the Smart for 2 car? Remember, probably when we talk about this, somebody figured out how to put a 300 horsepower engine in one of those, and they put a bicycle wheel on the back, like
it didn't
wheel
flip over.
It would pop wheelies. Yeah, and
just take the next, put wings on it. Take it the next step further with that thing.
It'll pick its spot. It'll gap cars on the pulling onto the freeway. You just see this little Smart for 2 car going by at 100 miles per hour. Yeah.
God, I drove next to one of those the other day, and it's just so tiny. It's so no back seat. I mean, just one of those. Oh my God, like that's a tiny little vehicle.
Yeah, but adequate, right?
Yeah, for what you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's just funny. You just don't see small vehicles like that in the U.S., whereas you would overseas.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Waymo is leading in real hands-off driving miles. Waymo leads in real hands-off driverless miles with tens of millions logged across major U.S. cities. Tesla dominates in supervised autonomy with nearly 10 billion miles. GM leads hands-free systems with 1 billion miles. Now, the GM system is designed for interstate driving.
Yeah, yeah.
China's Beidou, Pony.ai, and AutoX are rapidly scaling robotaxis, creating the world's largest autonomous driving zones. It'll be interesting to see where the robotaxi space goes in the world. I mean, there's a lot of room for it, obviously,
Oh
right?
gosh, yes.
So
Yeah.
there's lots of market out there for people in the space. And then sometimes, even though you may be able to get cheap Chinese cars or whatever, there's always a market for the more expensive ones.
There's always a market for the more expensive ones. And when you think robo taxis, we've seen them in Austin and, California and places like that. But I'm thinking European cities, and old places with dense city centers, kind of what they did with traffic patterns, and the tolls to keep cars out of New York. God, just if those became autonomous zones, it's like, we will take you in, we will take you out, but we don't want car traffic in, ancient European capitals. I can see that being a big application.
Yeah, but there's obviously a lot to it, and it certainly is a lot quieter without a million cars. Last time I was in New York City, it really hit me why didn't seem like there was all that much traffic. There really, in Manhattan, there's really not a whole lot of cars just driving around on every street, where I just envisioned it,
like bumper to bumper, like
bumper to bumper
movie, right? Yeah, like whatever.
Yeah, you could actually jaywalk across the street because it would be, because of the tolls.
Yeah.
People just dodge that downtown area.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's actually all I've got for today, Mike. So,
Okay.
Anyways, folks, I'll be back with Bill on Tuesday and Mike next week.
You betcha.
And otherwise, folks, I want to thank everybody for watching, and otherwise, have a great week.